Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about how to run a company book club and why I think it's something that every company should do with your team, with your employees. So I'm going to break this video into three parts. Part number one, why a company book club? Part number two, how do you pick the book? And then part number three, how do you run the actual meetings or the book clubs themselves? So first things first, why a book club? I found for me personally at Self-Publishing School, this is something that we do. It's a key part of the culture. So not only, obviously we have a growth-oriented culture, but also it's a key part of building culture because you're able to have candid conversations about things that are meaningful to you that you wouldn't otherwise be able to talk about in the work setting or on kind of your more standard meetings. So I've just found that it's really, really important. I try to do it once a month at the most, obviously, or rotate every other month. So this is something we might do, anywhere from 6 to 12 book clubs throughout the year. And so not only does your team learn and grow a ton, but it builds the culture amongst the team themselves. Now, second part, so how do you pick which book to read? Now, I've got a whole nother video on how to decide which book to read next, kind of for you personally. So you can check out that video and there will be some good principles in there that you can follow that will be similar to this. But in terms of picking the book that you're going to read next for your book club itself, it's a couple things. So I try to say, what's the key message that I want the team to understand? What's the key bottleneck that we're struggling with? What's the quarterly focus? Or really just what's that thing that we need help with as an organization? And I want everyone to be focused on this, kind of subconsciously through this book club. That will guide the direction that we take. So we've done book club books like Extreme Ownership, 80/20 Sales and Marketing. So obviously one of those is on leadership, one of those is on sales and marketing, trying to solve a specific thing. Here recently, we did a book club on the Go-Giver. So I was trying to, kind of build this mentality of giving, of adding value to our customers. Right now, we're doing the 5 love languages. So this is something I'm really trying to build more culture amongst the team and also deepen relationships with their spouses and amongst each other. So it's kind of 2 birds, 1 stone. And so now this reflects well to their spouses because, it's deepening their relationship. So they see them working at my company as a value add for their personal relationship, which makes it meaningful to them. And now all of a sudden, the spouse is an advocate for Self-Publishing School and they say, hey, you need to keep working there. I don't care if that other place is gonna pay you more money. I don't care, if whatever, you need to keep working there because we're probably not gonna do things like this, right? So that's just kind of an added second level benefit. So that's what we do. That's how we kind of choose the book itself, and then we strategically choose the book. And then the third part is how do you run the actual meetings? So depending on the book, the length of the book, how hard it is to read, stuff like that. And by the way, I try to choose generally shorter books that aren't going to be like these marathon reads, just keep in mind that everyone on your team might not read as much as you do. I know for me personally, I read a book a week, and a lot of my teammates don't necessarily, right? Maybe they're still building reading as a habit. So I want to make this as low pressure for them as possible. So we'll do 1 book club per week over the course of 3 to 4 weeks. So I might do 3 one month, I might do 4 meetings in a month. Just depends on kind of the calendar, how the calendar falls and how we create the reading schedule. So that's the upfront thing is you want to create a reading schedule and meeting dates and go ahead and plan them all out for the month, right? So just batch it. I like to do it the same date and time. So we do Thursday afternoons. It's later in the week, so they have time to read. It's not in the morning, so they can get their high priority work done. It's in the afternoon. We'll batch it all out and we'll put together the reading schedule from the start, and that's how we structure it. And then in terms of the individual meetings, we kind of structure it in 3 parts. So part number 1 is what we call stories from out in the wild. So this is kind of like, hey, what's any random thing that happened in your life, so in your personal life or in business, that reminded you of the book and the lesson that you learned or something that we read or something that you read in the book. So stories from out in the wild, that just kind of gets people talking. That gets, stories flowing, stuff like that. Number 2 is takeaways or lesson learned. So we'll kind of list ahead of time, page 95, this thing stood out to me. And so then we can just kind of have free-flowing banter around like, we can riff and go back and forth and, I really like that, and talk about the book and what we learned. And then the third part is application or takeaways. So kind of like, what are your next steps? Now, I'm not very intense about this piece because obviously I know that they have a lot of action items and what we call who, what, wins, takeaways that they have to do. So I don't want this to be just one more place where they leave with a bunch of to-do list items, but it is a place where if you find something specifically meaningful, you can say, hey, I really like this part of the book, and what I'm going to commit to doing over the next week is XYZ, right? So that's the takeaway. So these meetings usually go 45 minutes to an hour. That's what we allot them for. And sometimes if you really want to, just kind of go above and beyond, one thing that I've done personally is I brought in the author to do a Q&A at the end of the book club. This is a huge hit with the team. So we've had Jay Papasan of The One Thing. We've had Perry Marshall from 80/20 Sales and Marketing. We've had Bob Burke from The Go-Giver. And this is just obviously, we're just reading this whole book and super pumped about the book. And obviously we respect the author. And now all of a sudden he's coming in and answer the questions from all my teammates on Self-Publishing School. So it's really cool, kind of work perk for them because they love it. They get their questions answered and it builds culture, and obviously it's a big thing for working at Self-Publishing School. So this is kind of a recruiting tool, all those things. So I'll do typically a 30-minute Q&A, so it's a super low barrier to entry for the author itself. And sometimes it helps if I have a personal relationship, but I'll offer, hey, would you mind doing this? This would actually absolutely make their day, make their year if you came in. It'll only be 30 minutes. I'm happy to donate to your favorite charity or do whatever you need me to make it make sense. I'm just curious if you could spare 30 minutes. We're doing this as a book club. The team is loving the book, right? So it's very focused on what's in it for them and then how we're loving the book. We've bought a bunch of copies, all those things. So sometimes we'll bring the author in at the end. So that's how we run our book club. Like I said, it's been a really powerful tool for building culture, for learning, for things like that. I highly recommend that you check it out. Just try it once in a single month, and then if it works, maybe you can stick with it, and I think you'll find a lot of benefits from it. So comment below this video, let me know what you think. Have you tried a book club in your company? How does the structure look? Is it different from this? Is it similar? Let me know if this works for you, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.